Okay, so we've got a 470 ohm resistor here, and I've got 10 volts on my power supply. It says 9.7, but I've set that with my meter, so it's 10 volts. And I've got the meter across the resistor, and I'm coming out the positive of my power supply into one side of the resistor, and I'm coming out of the negative of the power supply into the other side of the resistor. So as you can see, we've got our 10 volts across the resistor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I've got the other side of my power supply is set to 5 volts. So I'm going to move the negative into the negative of output B. So this is output B. And I'm going to take the positive. I'm going to take the positive here, and I'm going to connect the positive to the negative of my. All right, so here we have our power supply. It's set at 10 volts. Output A is 10 volts. I'm coming out the positive of the 10 volts going into my resistor, coming out my resistor, back into this 10 volt supply, so you can see that I have 10 volts across my resistor. Now I'm going to take and connect the negative. I'm going to connect the negative of my supply, of the 5 volt supply, to the bottom of the resistor, and I'm going to connect the positive of the 5 volt supply to the negative of the 10 volt supply. So I've got my 5 volt supply, my 10 volt supply, and I'm going to take, and the positive of the 5 volt supply is going to go into the negative of the 10 volt supply. Now when I did that, you see the voltage dropped on me because now I'm above my current limit. So again, I had my current knob turned all the way down, or pretty much all the way down, and the voltage dropped. So I need to just bump this current knob up a hair so that I can get back to my CV light. So I've returned to my CV light right there. I'm using both supplies now, so I got to pay attention to both CV lights, make sure I'm at CV on both of those. So I just bumped this current knob up just a tiny bit to allow enough current to flow through. And now you can see that I have 15 volts. So I got 5 volts here, and this 5 volts is pushing into in the same direction as the 10 volts. So 5 plus 10 gives me 15 volts across my resistor. All right, so if we look here now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the negative of the 10 volt to the negative of the 5 volt. All right, so in this case, the 10 volt's pushing up and the 5 volt is pushing down, so they're opposing each other. And so what that's going to do then is drop my voltage across the resistor. So I'm going to take, well, the negative of the 10 volt supply is going to go into the negative of the 5 volt supply, and then the positive of the 5 volt supply is going to go into my resistor. So as you can see now, we've got 10 pushing up, so 10 is pushing this way down through the resistor this way, and then this 5 is trying to push up that way. Of course, the 10 is bigger than 5, so it wins, and so I end up with 5 volts across the resistor. So Kirchhoff's voltage law always works. You can start at any point. So if I start like right here and I go counterclockwise, I'm going down, so I lose 10 volts. So I lose 10 volts here, but then I go through this and I come back out and I gain 10 or gain 5 volts. And then this is my resistor. Now the current's actually flowing top to bottom through here. So as I come back up through this resistor, I see a plus, And we see on the meter, right, that's got 5 volts at the top of that. So we went up another 5 volts. So we're at plus 5 volts at this point in the circuit. All right. So Kirchhoff's voltage law says you go around the loop. You can either go clockwise around the loop or you can go counterclockwise around the loop. Kirchhoff doesn't care which way you go around the loop. You want to go counterclockwise, that works, or you want to go clockwise, that works. But if you go around the loop, when you get back to that same point you started at, whichever point you start at, the voltage has returned to 0. So if we start at this point, we go up, come through here, we went -5. So we're at -5. Then we're going to go up through here, we go up. This is when we come out, we see that we went up 10 volts. All right, so we went up 10 volts, but that makes this positive 5 volts. And again, we see that on our meter. There's our positive 5 volts. So that means over here we have a plus minus 5 volts. Okay, so this resistor is using 5 volts.